Welcome back to another live stream. Hi, how is everyone doing? Let me just make some adjustments to the microphone. Make sure I'm centered on the screen. As usual, before we go too far, just want to make sure that the stream is working fine. You guys can see the video feed. If there's any problem, let me know. If you can hear me fine, the audio from the microphone, if there's any issues, any distortion, echo, or something I need to fix right from the start, or am I just babbling, talking to myself and like you can't hear anything. Let me know if there's any issue, right? And while waiting for some feedback, let me drink some coffee. Coffee. Ah. Oh, this coffee's good. Thanks, Gregory. Thanks, Dan. Thanks, Yumi, for the feedback. As usual, I'll say hi to people first, and I will definitely prioritize chat from members first. If you are a member, your name will be highlighted in green, and there's a star badge next to your name. But I get to every single chat, so don't worry. You just have to wait a little bit. I'll get to everyone as soon as I can, all right? But members first. Members will have a priority. Gregory says, I want to know what is in the background of this picture. I think you're referring to the thumbnail photograph of this live stream. So it was the E-M1 Mark II camera at a cafe called Espresso Lab. Unfortunately, that cafe has shut down. The exact location was at the entrance of New Central at Cal Central, Brickfields. I love that cafe. It has large window panels, a lot of side lights, perfect for portraits. I spent a lot of time there doing work, and it was like way before I had my YouTube channel, way before. Unfortunately, the cafe is gone. So at the background of that photograph, it was the cake display. Do you know, like the rack or the shelf where they put the cakes and fancy desserts? That's it. That's the fridge for the cake with the glass display. I hope that makes sense. Yes, good morning to you too, Gregory. Dan says, good morning everyone, for the evening depending on where you're at. Good morning to you too, Dan. Australia Through My Lens says, I brought mine late 2024 and the OM System 20 Pro lens in January. My best camera setup in 37 years. Loving it. Yes, I think the E-M1 Mark II is definitely an awesome camera. Most of my YouTube videos, even today, were filmed on the E-M1 Mark II. Thanks, Gregory, for the update. Thanks, Dan. Appreciate that. Yes, it was at a cafe. Lighting was cozy. No worries. Let's get to the non-members chat. Anthony, as usual, no hi, no hello, no good morning. Just straight to business, right? Yes, I believe the 2025, the E-M1 Mark II is still a good camera. Most of the province have made. Okay, I don't know what that means. With all manufacturers, it's only really with the autofocus. I guess you're saying improvement? But improvement province, okay, I'm not going to put word in your mouth. No worries. And Anthony continues to say there has not been any real big improvements with all camera manufacturers with camera sensor technology. Hopefully in 2026, we'll start seeing major improvements with sensor and image processor technology. I don't know if we're going to see anything, but I hope they don't just keep recycling the same image sensor. We do need to see some upgrades or at least some progress when it comes to sensor development, right? For Micro Four Thirds. I agree with that. Anthony continues to say, for many years, I used the original EM1 before upgrading to the OM1 Mark II. And because of that, I noticed the improvements that were made over the years. You noticed or you did not notice? If you noticed, yes. From EM1 to OM1, there is a jump in terms of image quality, which we will talk about a little bit later. But if you say you didn't notice, then maybe you need to take a look a little bit more closely. Chuck says, hello Robin. Hey Chuck, how are you? Nice to see you here. And Blue says, used last night at dinner, left Canon at home. Poor Canon. I hope you got some good shots with your EM1 Mark II. Wow, how do I pronounce this? Kamuyat My Realm says, good evening Robin, good evening to you too, and all viewers, sending Micro Four Thirds love from the Philippines. Hello to you too. Ilpo says, hello from Finland. Hello, how are you? Thanks for joining the stream. Marcus says, good evening Robin and everyone, cheers from Serbia. Hey Marcus, nice to see you again. Thanks Yumi for the update. Hey Tony, how are you? Nice to see you. Tormod says, hello from Norway. Hey Tormod, how are you? West Coast Tech and Transit says, I love my E-M1 Mark II. It was a big upgrade from the E-M10 Mark I. Of course, E-M10 was designed to be entry-level, budget-friendly, beginner's camera. E-M1 Mark II was a flagship camera. It was the best of the best Olympus had at that time. And it's definitely a professional-grade camera. Magnesium alloy body, very robust, better handling, wider ceiling. Yes, the best of the best, right? At that time, the best image stabilization, the fastest processor, dual card slots. It has some really cool features that other cameras don't have at that time, like Pro Capture Mode, for example. It was really, really a game changer. I think E-M1 Mark II was amazing. It's still amazing today. Let's see if there's any members chat. Gregory says, I've done a little research and the primary advantage full-frame sensors have over Micro Four Thirds is not the size. It is the full-frame sensors have an additional decade of technology development. Yeah, but yes and no. I think there are newer tech for Micro Four Thirds. It's just that for whatever reasons, Olympus and then now the OM Digital Solutions and Panasonic, they're just not doing, or they're not buying the new sensor tech from Sony. There have been patents, there have been releases, there have been new Micro Four Thirds sensors. They're just sitting there and nobody's using them. So, which is kind of sad, really. And we don't know how much better these sensors are unless they put it in any new cameras, right? Any day now, Panasonic OM system, please. 0191 Marco says, are you keeping tabs on me, Robin? Just took delivery of one yesterday as a second body for my trip to South Africa. So yeah, I think it's still a great camera. I hope you have a wonderful trip to South Africa. And I wish I have that kind of ability to keep tabs on everyone here. But yeah, I think E-M1 Mark II is a fantastic camera for you to bring for your South Africa trip. I hope you got some really nice shots from that trip. Luis says, I have bought this camera 2 weeks ago and I'm starting in photography. Any initial settings you recommend for this camera? I got the Zuko 14 to 42. Initial settings, I think I have a video on how I set up my camera. So let me just see if I can find that video. Let's see. Or cheat sheet. I once had a very famous cheat sheet. It went viral. It had like millions and millions of views. But yeah, I think this is it. 5 years ago. Okay, share. Okay, so Louis, here it is. Robin Wong's Olympus cheat sheet. It was a thing back then. So if you haven't seen this particular video, it helps with the setup. I think there was also a blog article, if you prefer a written version. There's the cheat sheet as well on my blog. So yeah, just type Robin Wong cheat sheet. Jane says, new non-member from Devon, UK. Hey Jane, how are you? Nice to see you here. Anthony says, apparently there's an all-new 50-200 f2.8 IS. It might have a built-in 1.2 times teleconverter. It has been engineered and built by OM System, being announced in September 10th. But then again, wow, those are very specific details with the date. Very specific, September 10th. Let me check. September 10th? I don't think it's September 10th. It's a Wednesday. Have you noticed OM Digital Solutions, dating also Olympus, they never announce anything on a Wednesday. It's always Tuesday. Every single product you can check, OM1, OM1 Mark II, even the newer ones like OM5 Mark II, even all the lenses, anything, any big announcements, any product launches, they have always been on a Tuesday, never a Wednesday. So September 10th is a Wednesday. So I doubt the authenticity of your source. Sorry to say that, Anthony, unless you're very, very sure. I don't know. Maybe they changed their mind. Okay, we're done with Tuesdays. Let's do Wednesday instead. But 5200 is based on the roadmap. There is like the future lens in the roadmap, right? It's coming. The tease from OM Digital Solutions. This has been done like since 4 or 5 years ago, even before Olympus got sold off to JIP, right? So the lens has been there. But whether it's f2.8, I don't know. I think most likely it will have image stabilization. Now, all the long lenses from Olympus, that have image stabilization built in, but whether it will have fixed f2.8, or could it be a redesign or rehash of the old Zuko Digital 50-200 f2.8 to 3.5? Maybe we're getting the 50-200 f2.8 to 3.5. That could be interesting, right? Built-in 1.2 times teleconverter, really? Why? It doesn't make any sense. Like, why built-in 1.2 times? It doesn't make any sense. So anyway, but whatever it is, I'm not saying that it's not true. Nobody knows. It's still a rumor at this point. I'm sure something is coming sooner or later. I think it'll be quite soon. And I guess exciting times are coming ahead, right? So it'll be really cool. Let's see. Australia through my lens says, hi from Australia. Hi, how are you? Olympus system doing a macro workshop at Guilfol Volcano in 2 weeks. It is a botanical shoot. Today I bought the 30 macro Olympus lens. Okay, 30 macro is a good lens. It's not expensive and it gives you very high magnification. I think it's about 2.5 times equivalent magnification, but the only trick is you have to go really close. The minimum focusing distance is not great, so not the best lens to shoot insects or anything alive that can fly or jump away if you go too close. Other than that, it's a fantastic lens. If you do still life, things that don't move, things that don't get spooked easily, I think the 30 f3.5 is a fantastic lens. Yeah. Okay, let's see. I'm going to read a few more comments and then we'll start with the updates. Chuck says, I never had the Mark II, but I recently just bought a second Mark III in practically new condition for $800 US. Crazy cheap for what you get. Wow, that's a great buy. Yeah, the Mark III is like an incremental improvement over the Mark II. So they're basically almost the same camera, right? Ronster says, good afternoon, dropping in. I have the E-M1 Mark II I use for most of my pictures now. I was in Port Meirin, Wales last week. Sorry guys, I don't know any of these locations if I pronounce them wrong. The image stabilization was great right down to 2 seconds during blue hour. I think it has a varying degree of success, right? Some people can hand hold down to 4 seconds. Some people claim they can do 10 seconds, 20, 30 seconds. It's ridiculous. I think my article, which was published on Petapixel, Jaren Snyder actually contacted me when I was reviewing the E-M1 Mark II, and then my article got ported over to Petapixel. It was a big thing for me, alright? Back then, I don't have a YouTube channel yet. A small blogger from Malaysia being featured on Petapixel, one of the largest photography sites in the world. I was talking about the image stabilization on the E-M1 Mark II. I think I claimed like I can hand hold down to like 4 or 5 seconds or something. Yeah. Fajar says, Selamat malam from Indonesia. Hey Fajar, how are you? I hope the Lumix OM system can make a new compact camera like Ricoh GR4. Yeah, I hope too, but it seems like they basically said no, right? In all the interviews, they were asked point blank, like, are you going to make compact cameras with fixed lens? The answer is always a hard no. A very specific, clear no. So I don't think we can expect anything from OM system, or hopefully Panasonic can do it. They didn't say no. It was only the OM Digital Solutions that said no. So yeah. Gregory says, visit Malaysia. Okay. No worries. Let's see. Louis says, do you recommend the HDR mode for this camera? The modes or the features on the camera are only used, or they are designed specifically for certain situations. So HDR, the name means high dynamic range. So only use it in situations where you really need high dynamic range. Does that make sense? Like, I wouldn't use it for if I were to take a photograph of a cake in a cafe, or a cup of coffee, or a cat, or I don't know. Like, if it's just a normal photograph and there's no high contrast situations where it's very challenging for dynamic range to be captured in the camera, then don't bother, right? And also be reminded that the HDR mode only allows you to capture JPEG. It doesn't give you RAW. So if anything goes wrong, like if the white balance is wrongly set, or the camera decides the wrong white balance during the auto white balance calculation, then that's it. You screw up the photograph. You can't fix it anymore. So I wouldn't recommend doing HDR unless you really know what you're doing. And also unless it's in that very specific, difficult situation where you're in a cave, you're shooting out, you still need to capture something inside the cave, and there's like more than 20 stops of difference of light between the dark cave safe and the bright sunlight outside. So in that situation, yes, HDR works. But for most situations, I don't see a need for HDR. I think at certain situations, it makes things more worse. It makes things look artificial, like there's the painterly look, there's the very garish, very overcooked, overbaked kind of colors, the skin tones are all wrong, images don't look natural or pleasing. I think HDR has its place. The purpose is to increase dynamic range, but if you don't know what you're doing, if it's done poorly, it can destroy your photograph as well. So I am not a fan of HDR, unfortunately, but then if you feel free to experiment, don't take my word for it. Feel free to try it yourself, see if it works for you. I think a lot of people ask, should I use this, should I use that? Then, well, I'll throw it back to you. Why don't you try it, right? It's free. Like, let's say in this situation, should I use HDR? Just turn it on, take a shot or two with the HDR. Turn it off, take another shot. Go home, take a look at the results. Then you know, okay, maybe in this situation, I do not take the HDR shot. Maybe in this situation, I take the HDR shot. And I don't know what situation that is. I can't give you an answer that fits all situations, right? I hope that helps. Louis says, many thanks for your content again. I was watching yesterday a tutorial about shooting in low light. No worries. Low light is easier. It's a lot clearer. Patrick says, hello Robin from Belgium. Hey Patrick, how are you? Nice to see you here. Aurelia says, Aurelio says, I've changed my EPL8 for a Sony a6000. I'm happy with it because it fits more with my style of photography and also have an electronic viewfinder. But for me, EPL8 to A6000 is not really a fair comparison. I think the A6000 is more fairly compared to an EM10 because it has dual dials. EPL8 only has one dial. A6000 has dual dials, or 3 dials. I think it's 3 dials, right? And then the EM10 has 2 dials and built-in electronic viewfinder. And of course, it will feel like an upgrade because both cameras are not designed for the same user base, right? But at the same time, if I come from EPL8, and if I really use the camera, because I have an EPL7, so EPL7, EPL8 is not that different. If I go to A6000, the biggest thing that I lose and the biggest regret that I'm going to feel, the sting, will be the image stabilization. Trust me, once you've experienced image stabilization using a low lights or even just normal shots, it really boosts the confidence in nailing the shot. Once it's taken away, right? We're not even talking about a poor or less powerful or reliable image stabilization. We're talking about it being completely ripped off. There's no in-body stabilization in A6000, right? And the lens stabilization is completely useless. I'll really feel like, damn, I should have stayed with the EPL8. Well, that's just me. I guess some people, they don't have problem with stabilization, or maybe the hands are built like tripods. So who am I to tell people, right? Astrom says, good afternoon from Iceland. Wow. Can we all agree that 2016 was the best year for Olympus Micro Four Thirds? Panaf in January and E-M1 Mark II in December. Yeah, I know, right? Such great cameras back then. Really, it makes a huge difference. Let's see. Hey Andrew, how are you? Andrew says, hi Robin, just came in, busy night today. No worries, if you have something important to do, just do it. Don't worry about this live stream, you can always watch the replay, yeah? Dan says, hey Robin, speaking of white balance, if I use a warm white balance on my EM5 or EM1s in shoot RAW, does the RAW file capture the white balance? Yes, the RAW file will remember your camera's white balance setting and pre-apply to the RAW image on your post-processing software of choice. The software will read the setting that you use on the camera. But the advantage of using RAW is that you can change the white balance with no penalty from extremes, right? From extreme warm to cold, with no loss or degradation of image quality. The pixel integrity stays intact. Whereas if you shoot JPEG, if you lock in certain white balance value, and then you want to tweak the white balance, you want to change the colors, that's where all the noise, all the smearing, all the processing artifacts will start to happen, and your image will look really, really, really bad. And you can only edit to a certain point, and honestly, you can't get the colors or recover the colors like the flexibility flexibility that you have or the versatility that you have with a RAW file. But yes, the RAW file will retain your camera settings and it will preload it as you open up the RAW file on any of your post-processing software of choice. All right. Okay, let me just read a few more comments. Simon says, hello, E-M1 Mark II, still my workhorse. It is still my workhorse as well. Anthony says, I noticed a big improvement with my new camera and was made over the past 4 generations. I'm very pleased with the OM1. Okay. Well, I'm happy that you are happy with the OM1. But I'm going to prove to you that from EM1, going to E-M1 Mark II is a big jump. And then going to OM1 is sort of like a downgrade. You'll see. You'll understand later. Aurelio says, you should be the CEO of... Nah, I'm not a CEO material. I am more like a maybe advisor or consultant. I can take that role, giving them some advice on what the consumers want or where they can do better in their product strategy. But CEO, no, I have no zero or nothing about running a business. I'll drive the company to bankruptcy. Tiago says, you brought my love for photography to life, so I wanted to thank you so much for that, and it's doing wonders to my mental health. I bought my E-M1 Mark II recently this year and loving it. Love from Portugal. Oh, that is so sweet of you to say and very heartwarming, and thank you so much for taking the time to let me know that whatever that I'm doing here, my content actually helps. It encourages me and definitely inspires me to do more, and sometimes I wonder, if what I'm doing is making any difference at all, or even if it matters at all, right? So hearing something like this kind of positive feedback from yourself, Tiago, it means a lot to me. So thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate that. Hey Wolfie, how are you? Wolfie is here, who says, hey Robin and lovely peeps here. I hope you are all okay and enjoying photography. Yep, a lot of photography is happening recently. A lot of things are happening. No worries. Yes, Gregory, Wolfie is in the house. All right. Australia through my lens says, I have image stabilization in my Pentax KF, but the E-M1 Mark II stabilization is amazing. Light years ahead of Pentax. I know, right? The 5-axis image stabilization is something else. All right, I will put a pause to the chat here. I'll start with some updates. Actually, not much updates this week, I guess. I published a new video on Monday. It was the EPM2. The Olympus Pen Mini 2. I actually did that video a few months ago, at least 3 months ago now, like way before I went to China and then with mom passing away. So it was a video I did quite a while back, and I brought the 25 f1.8 and just did a POV video. Obviously, I've talked about the Olympus Pen Mini before. It wasn't my first time making a content about the Olympus Pen Mini, but I just want to use the camera again, right? And I'm not the kind of person where I talk about something once and that's it. Like, oh, I use this camera or this lens once and then I don't touch it anymore. If I say that I love the camera, which I did, I really love the Olympus Pen Mini EPM2. I love it. I really do. If I really love it, then why do I just use it once? I want to use it again and again and again, right? So it is one of my go-to cameras for street photography. My unit, the image stabilization is still working fine. The screen is still bright. There's no vignetting whatsoever. Autofocus was fine. So the camera was in a very good condition. So of course I want to use it again and again, right? And yeah, I did a street shooting session with it. It was a POV. I went around, show you what happens in front of me, what's around me before I click the shutter button. I thought it was a very fun video to make, and I had some really good photographs to share. So if you haven't seen the video, it was up on Monday, the EPM2 POV street photography, why I love the Olympus Pen Mini basically. I went back to Kuching again on Tuesday. It was a day trip, so basically just to settle some things. I don't want to go through the whole drama again. I have spent so much time talking about this. So, but basically I went to the National Registry. No, I went straight, once I landed in the airport, on the airport in Kuching, I went straight to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, collected some documents. Thankfully everything is ready. And then I hop over to the next building, which is the it's JPN, so in English it's National Registry, to report my mom's death to the government. And the report was done. Everything went as smoothly as possible. There was no hiccup this time. And the only thing was I needed to wait 1 week for the processing time until the death certificate can be released. There's nothing I can do, and I don't want to stay 1 week in Kuching. So it's why it was a day trip. I just did what I have to do all the paperwork, do my report, whatever I needed to sign or pay. There's some fees involved. I settled everything on Tuesday, and I came back on the same day. And well, just a little bit fun fact, my flight got delayed 3.5 hours. I was supposed to fly back at 6 o'clock in the evening, so my flight was 9:30, and I landed in Kuala Lumpur at 11 something, and by the time I got back it was already almost 1 o'clock. So what a day for Tuesday. But I was very happy about this trip because I managed to get a lot of things done. I managed to finally close one chapter and put it behind me, right? This, like, whatever I needed to do, I've done. Everything went smoothly, and I just have to wait for the death certificate. So finally one thing is completed. So I was very, very happy with that. With mom's death and everything, I do need some progress. I need some wins. I need things to go smoothly, right? So yeah, so that's a small win there, and I'm very happy with that. So that's Wednesday. Yesterday and today I've been going out to make some videos. So finally I finished editing the video this afternoon. So that's yesterday, today. This weekend is gonna be crazy because it is the Merdeka weekend. I don't think I'm gonna go to the parade. If you're in Malaysia, tomorrow it's the full dress rehearsal. You should go to Putrajaya tomorrow if you're free. Amazing photography opportunity, but I initially wanted to go tomorrow. Actually, after the stream, normally I finish my stream at about 1 o'clock, and then I'll have to dismantle everything. I will eat something because I get really hungry after speaking for 2 to 3 hours. And after the meal, I'll shower and wait for a while for the digestion. And then I'll usually sleep about 2 o'clock, sometimes 3 o'clock in the morning. I initially planned to wake up tomorrow morning at about 5. It means I will only have like 2 to 3 hours sleep, and then go straight to Putrajaya where the full dress rehearsal for the parade is, and capture some shots. That was the initial plan, but I have to forgo the plan because a camera company called me just today, very last minute, and told me that a new camera is ready. And they wanted me to try the camera and speak for their launch event. I'm not going to tell you what camera it is. It's not difficult to guess. The camera has been launched already anyway. It's quite hot and now trending in the market. I don't want to say anything now because I don't have the camera in my hands yet. I haven't done anything with it. I don't even know if I like it or not. But I'm going to collect the camera first thing tomorrow morning. And the reason why I changed the plan is because I want to get the camera as soon as possible so that I have time to test it this weekend and make my videos next week. The sooner I have the camera, the better. So no Merdeka shooting for me, and I don't want to go on Sunday. Sunday is the actual Merdeka. Merdeka is Independence Day. Basically, it's Independence Day in Malaysia. So Sunday is the actual day where the parade will be happening and the crowd will be there. I'm too old to do this. I don't want to go like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, brave the crowd, and I just get stuck there, squeezed between the sardines of a ocean of human beings with all the sweats and all the body odor, and it's just a nightmare. And under the hot Malaysian sun, I'm too old for that. So that's on Sunday. I'll do something else on Sunday. I'll figure out later what I want to do with the camera. So yeah, that's basically it. I'll collect the new camera tomorrow. I'll be busy doing that camera. I'll shoot some photographs with that camera, and I have to make content on the camera. I have to prepare a presentation to speak at the event about 1 week from now. So busy. There are other things. I got a lot of calls this week. Besides new cameras, there's a new smartphone as well, which I have to decline. I'm not going to do anything with a new smartphone. I don't have the time for it. And then there are also other calls on other projects. Life is getting busier, and I will share more details when I can, because a lot of these things that I just got into, they are in the preliminary stage. It's still very early to say anything, but once things are ready, I'll share all the information here. So rest assured, I'll tell you guys. I'm not keeping you guys in the dark, right? So yeah, basically that's it on my updates for this week. Members only live stream will be next week because tomorrow night I have something happening. So for the members only live stream will be next week. I guess it got delayed because of the last month I was away to China and then mom died and everything, so things got pushed back a little bit. But don't worry, members only live stream will still happen. Okay, I think it's a good time to remind everyone that I have enabled membership on this channel. With just the price of a cup of coffee, you get to support me and you get some really cool perks in return. You have early access to all my videos. You get to see my videos 24 hours before everyone else. We also have members only live stream. So for this particular, or for the next session that's happening will be next week. If you join now, you're in time for this coming members only live stream happening next week, where we can come in, have a more intimate conversation. I don't have to go through so many chats and comments by non-members. I will also prioritize my responses to your comments. If you have comments on my older or newer videos, I'll definitely reply to you first before non-members. And same here on this live stream, on the chat, I will go to your comment first. As a member, I'll respond to you before everyone else. I have taken down some older videos. They were not performing well. These videos include tips and tricks on doing black and white photography, how to get sharp images doing macro, tips and tricks on composition, how to get good framing, and of course a lot of street photography happening, a lot of POV street photography. The reason I took them down is so that I don't want these videos to affect my future videos. I want YouTube to continue to promote my new videos to a wider audience. It has been working really well for the recent videos. So it's like I put this video free for everyone. I never intended to put a paywall on these videos, but nobody watches them anyway. I get like, I make a video on how to get sharp images on doing insect macro. I only got like 800 views. I'm like, what? And of course, I'll do a review on the 100 to 400 lens. It got like 30,000 views, of course. So when the views are so low, it actually tells YouTube that, hey, like this channel is not doing well. Let's not promote this channel. So I had to take down some of the older videos. I've already put it free for everyone for at least half a year. And in that half a year, only 800 people watch it. I'm like, why? So I took it down, right? If you don't want to watch it, then I took it down. So if you want to watch it now, then you have to pay. Fair, right? I leave it there for half a year. If you don't want to watch it, then fine, it's not there anymore. So there you go. There are other ways to support me besides joining as a member. You can buy me a cup of coffee using this link, or you can contribute directly to my PayPal, or you can buy from my affiliate links, Amazon and B&H. All the links in the description below on how you can support me. Any contribution goes a long way, will definitely support me, will encourage me to do more and share as much as I can here with you guys, right? For those who have contributed, who have supported me, thank you so much for your help. Thank you so much for the contribution. I really appreciate you being here, and without you, there's no Robin Wong. And rest assured, I've made a lot of content that's ready to go. I can't wait to share them with you guys. All right, so yay. Let me drink some coffee and get to the chat. I'll reply to a few more chats and then we'll start with the topic for tonight. How is the E-M1 Mark II's dynamic range in 2025? We're going to compare with some new cameras. Any chat from members? Let me just go through a quick sweep. Andrew, yes. EPM2 definitely rocks. Definitely. Okay. We have a new member. West Coast Tech and Transit, thank you so much for joining as a member. I appreciate the support. Welcome to the membership and welcome to Photo Walk Buddies. Really, really appreciate the support, man. Okay. Where were we? Wolfie says, for that money, I bought the Panasonic 14-45 kit lens because it's perfect for infrared photography for my converted Panasonic G2. What were you saying previously? Oh, sorry. I skipped a lot of chats. Sorry, Wolfie. There were a lot of chats before that. I skipped ahead. Yumi says, I love the E-M1 Mark II. On the second-hand market, it is cheaper than the E-M5 Mark III. I took the E-M1 Mark II traveling with just the 12-40 f2.8 Pro lens. The 12-40 is such a fantastic lens. It's so versatile. The zoom range, you can just do everything with one lens, unless you need something really long or you need to shoot like wildlife or bird or something, right? Other than that, if you don't need the super tight photo reach, 12-40 is more than enough for everything. West Coast Tech and Transit says, I think the number one pro of Macro Four Thirds is the 2x crop. I can get a 300 lens. It will technically be 600, which is really good for what I shoot. Vehicles, trains, planes, and buildings. Wow, you shoot things that are really, really far away. I will be very interested to see your photographs. Those sounds like very interesting subjects to shoot. Louis says, I'm very shy when I'm trying to make some shoots in the street, like people staring at me. Any tips? Does this happen to everyone? I don't imagine myself yet going out with a tripod. I think it takes time to build courage to approach strangers and shoot them, right? Whether you want to shoot them candidly or you're asking permission to shoot, like approach someone, hey, can I take a photograph? It's okay. Depending on your shooting style, it is fine for you not to go close and shoot. You can shoot from a distance and be like the invisible photographer, just capturing like snapshots or candid shots without interfering with the subject, right? Or if you really do want to challenge yourself, you want to get intimate and you want to go really close, because I feel that if you're that close already, why not just strike up a conversation? They're a human being, you're a human being, just ask. Here's the thing. If they say no, they no, right? You asked, you gave them a choice. They can say no, it is their choice. If they say no, it's perfectly fine. Just say thank you so much and move on. Depending on where you are, some countries people are friendlier than others. Like here in Malaysia and a lot of Southeast Asian countries, basically people will just volunteer themselves and for you. They'll say, hey, take my photograph. I am not kidding. So, you know, like, I have no difficulties here because everyone is so friendly. I can just approach them and say, hey, can I take a photograph? Usually they say yes. Sometimes they say no. I don't get 100% success, right? And if they reject, I'll just move on to the next one. I understand that privacy is a big thing for European countries or other parts of the world where people are not so open to being photographed or people get paranoid seeing cameras. I totally get it. Just be aware of the local rules and regulations and law. Don't break anything, and if you're in a private property, don't do anything crazy, because street photography is only applicable for public spaces, so just be aware of that. But you can slowly build up your courage and ask for permission, right? And if you can't, that's fine. Take your time. Photography is definitely a process. You do not rush it, right? Kamuyat Mariam says, yes, that's the correct pronunciation. Hopefully I can try the E-M1 Mark II someday, but I still prefer small bodies like the OM5. Still wondering what 2026 will give us Macro Four Thirds lovers and enthusiasts. Hey, 2025 is not over yet. Why are you talking about 2026 already? We still have like, what, 4 months left in 2025? And maybe like, and we're expecting a telephoto pro lens from OM Digital Solutions and hopefully a surprise camera, I don't know, and maybe Panasonic is going to launch something, hopefully, for the Macro Four Thirds crowd. Like, they've been incredibly silent, uncomfortably silent for the past years. So yeah, I'm not giving up on 2025 yet. Come on. Wolfie says, on the topic, I think everyone has different needs and expectations from their photography. E-M1 Mark II can work for some of the most photographers for what they photograph. All right. For my needs, it will be enough for street photography and landscapes, but for photography, macro, astro, dark field pads, and multi-coated pads, it is not enough, and it's why I tried Samsung NX500. What does Samsung NX500 has that the E-M1 Mark II doesn't have for macro? I think E-M1 Mark II is perfect for macro. In fact, I'm going to show you later, EPL7 can do macro as well, which is the photo sharing session later. Let's not jump ahead too far, but I'm curious, what does the NX500 have that the E-M1 Mark II doesn't? And I think the E-M1 Mark II has image stabilization that really helps macro, right? And it has focus stacking. I mean, you do stacking a lot. So yeah. Hey Eric, how are you? Nice to see you here. Blade Master says, hello Robin, much love from Ireland. Will we ever see a 30 megapixels macro photo sensor? I hope we do. Kind of sad if we don't, right? I hope we do someday. Eric says, I started with the EM5 Mark II in 2019, then EM1 Mark II on 2020, now OM1 Mark I. Alright, that's great. Wolfie says, Macro Four Thirds can recover highlights exceptionally well, better than 35mm full frame. Really? Okay, that's a very bold claim, Wolfie. Gotta be careful with that. You might ruffle some feathers. At around 2.5 stops, but for shadows, it turns magenta or green. It makes doggy fur ugly. Okay. May I ask what you edit your photographs with? Because I when I recover my shadows, I never see any green or magenta colors. I'm using Capture One Pro. Christopher says, Chris from the UK here. Hey Chris, how are you? Currently on holiday in Berlin with OM5 and great with the Panasonic 12-60. Camera and lens bought used, and this is covering over 90% of my shots. What more could anyone want? I know, right? And yeah, I guess everyone has specific needs, like what Wolfie said, right? Some people may need 150 to 400 lens to shoot that bird, right? Or some people may need a macro lens to shoot insects and bugs, or some people may need an ultra wide angle with bright aperture to shoot the night sky. So we are all different photographers. So yeah. Pearson says, hey Robin, I've been shooting film but it's too expensive. Which OM should I get to trick myself into thinking like I'm shooting film? Your opinion is much appreciated. I never shot film. I've shared a story about why I will never shoot film. It's a long and painful story. Basically, it's traumatic to me. But that's why I will never touch film. And because of that, I am a digital photographer, digital only, and I will never understand how film will work. So I'm not the right person to ask about being film-like or getting film simulation or having that experience of shooting film. I will not be able to give you the answer. But any micro four thirds camera is great. It's a great camera. And I would like to think that whether it's film or digital, does it really make a difference? Really? A camera is still a camera, right? You're capturing light. At the end of the day, you're still looking photographs. Now, I don't think you print every single photograph that you take. You're probably looking at photographs through your smartphone or your computer screen, right? If that's true, then it's all digital. You're looking at pixels. You're not looking at like film or prints, right? You're looking at pixels. Your film has turned to pixels. It's basically digital photography anyway, right? At the end of the day, so yeah. Vapogamuka says, good evening, Robin. Hey, Vapogamuka, how are you? Gustav Mina says, I have the E-M1 Mark III, but I'm now looking at getting an OM1 Mark II for the improvements in autofocus. But maybe I just have gear last. Well, I think the OM1 Mark II is a step backwards from the E-M1 Mark III. I've made 3 videos to talk about this. I'm not going to repeat it here. Yeah. Wolfie says, I was lucky to find a Canon 1122 in the junk box of a camera store and bought it for £2. Wow! And I took it for a different store and tested it and it worked perfectly. I got £140 for those £2. Wow! What a find, man. That's really lucky. No worries, Louis. Appreciate that. Okay, now coming back to the comment that I skipped ahead earlier, Wolfie. From that money, I bought the Panasonic 14-42 45 kit lens because it's perfect for infrared photography for my converted Panasonic G2. Ah, now this makes sense. So you sold off the 11-22 for £140, right? And use the money to buy a Panasonic kit lens. That makes sense. Pearson says, I agree, HDR looks like phone. Yuck. Yeah, I know, right? Okay, just a few more chat. Ronster says, use HDR1 for landscape, but alongside conventional mode as well. HDR2 is a bit wild even for me. Yeah, definitely. Toby says, hello from Germany. Hey Toby, how are you? Wolfie says, the special place for photography where I want to keep macro four thirds is infrared landscapes in high magnification ratio. Understand? Santi says, hi Robin, hope you're doing great this week. Hey Santix, how are you? Nice to see you again. I've been busy, flew back to Kuching on Tuesday, have to rush for a few meetings. I had a meeting yesterday as well. I'm going to collect a camera to test tomorrow. So this weekend I'll be busy with that and a few other events. So yeah, busy times ahead. Jane says, I have an OMD EM10 Mark II and would like to do street photography, which is a good lens, reasonable price. I can share my favorite lens with you. Okay, this will be the last one I answer before I talk about the topic for today. So, okay. Okay, my favorite lens for street photography, which I basically published 4 months ago. Right, so this is for you, Jane. Check this out if you have not done so. It's basically Panasonic 15 1.7, Olympus 25 1.8, and 45 1.8 used in different situations. If you think that these lenses are too expensive, if you want something more budget, then may I suggest that you just stick with the kit lens. it should be free, right? It should come with a camera. And kit lenses are awesome. That's one of my future coming topics where I brought the kit lens to do street photography. I want to do more than that. I think I'm going to make another video because this weekend I'm going to shoot my friend Bichu performing at Bobo. Not hired, not as a professional photographer or the official photographer. I will just be seated as an audience. I will use my kit lenses to shoot the performance. I want to make a video to say that, hey, in low light, mini concert, a lot of movement, a lot of action, I can still use kit lenses. Kit lenses are perfectly fine. If you don't have the money to upgrade to better lenses, I'm not saying kit lenses are the best. There are better lenses, of course, but if you don't have the money to upgrade, stay with the kit lens, you can still produce excellent results. But if to answer your question, if you follow the link, these are my favorite lenses currently for my street photography. All right, I hope that answers the question. Let's get to the members chat a few more before we dive into the topic. Let's see if I have anything that I've missed. Andrew says, quick update, I recently did a night shoot of the Merdeka 118 and posted on my own feed. Merdeka 118 team saw it and asked for permission to repost. It's up on the second social media today. Awesome, man. And that's the thing about social media, right? The whole world is connected. And if you have the right tags, with the right mentions, you can get visibility, right? Your photographs or your work, your content will be seen. Yeah. Well, congratulations, Andrew. That's quite a spotlight there. West Coast Tech and Transit says, I'm hopefully going on a session on Saturday. I'm still learning my E-M1 Mark II. Results should be on the main channel. It's linked on this channel's homepage. It's called Roll and Capture. Awesome. I'll check it out. Dan says, Robin, would you recommend for moving subjects at a further distance for the car, jet, airplanes, for my E-M1 Mark II, the Olympus 75-300 or 100 to 300. There's no difference. I think any of these lenses is going to give you the same results. There's not much difference. All right. With my E? Sorry about that. Gary says, exactly, film evokes nostalgia, but the challenge of photography remains. I know, right? It's not the camera, but the photographer. Australia through my lens says, film if you want nostalgia, buy the Nikon D50 or D70. They feel like film cameras even in RAW. Okay. Australia through my lens says, hi Brisbane, Melbourne is freezing. Can you send some sun? It is 28 degrees here. So hot. All right. Enough with saying hi to people. I will get to the chat later. Don't worry. I never skip any chat. I'll get to every single one. Let me just park this here. Let's dive into the topic. So why am I talking about E-M1 Mark II now? And why am I talking about dynamic range? Well, I've been hearing a lot of people telling me directly, hey, Robin, like since OM1 was launched, right? That time I don't have my OM1 yet. They say, oh, Robin, you must check out the OM1. The OM1 has improved image quality. It has this new sensor, right? The quad sensor, whatever. And it has significantly improved dynamic range, 2 stops better, high ISO. Some of the ambassadors or visionary or ambassadors at that time were claiming like crazy claims like, oh, OM1 can do 2 stops cleaner, better, high ISO than the E-M1 Mark III or the E-M1 Mark II, the previous generation image sensor. And obviously, after more thorough and trusted reviews were published, if you look at sites from DP Review and Petapixels, that's not the case. Basically, Petapixel, DP Review, and a lot of other bigger sites, test sites, that reported that the image quality is basically the same. Yes, there are slight improvements there and here. The grain pattern is different, but in terms of hard numbers, how much dynamic range is better, how much improvement in terms of high ISO, there's basically almost zero. Those are verified by large sites, large and trusted sites that we use as a reference, DP Review and Petapixel. And yet people come in and tell me, Robin, based on my personal experience, I have the E-M1 Mark II and the OM1. I compared both. I can see clearly the OM1 is superior. It's so much better. I mean, I'm not here to invalidate your opinion. If you see what you see, I guess you can believe what you see. I am not here to tell you that you're wrong. Obviously, you've chosen to believe in whatever you want to believe, but hey, I also, for whatever strange turn of events, were given an OM1, and I have an OM1 now, which has the new sensor. It's the same sensor as the OM1 Mark II, and I have done enough shoots with the OM1 over the past 1 or 2 years to gauge the results and to see the performance of the new image sensor. And I have to say, I see zero improvement, and in some cases, worse than E-M1 Mark II. I'm not kidding, right? And I'm gonna show you it's true. Anyways, so that's one. And then also recently, of course, there are newer cameras released since then. There's the GH7, right? And when Panasonic GH7 was launched, people were saying, wow, the GH7's dynamic range has so much improvement. This is like the best micro four thirds camera ever. Like if you want the best image quality, go for the GH7. You know, it's so much more improvement. Image quality is mind-blowing. Well, I guess thanks to certain YouTubers or influencers or photographers who push the Panasonic and claiming all these amazing improvements and amazing image quality from the GH7, a lot of people believe it, right? I'm not saying it's not true, but later again, you'll see some data to prove that it may not be the case. And then, of course, there's the G9 Mark II, right? G9 Mark II is like, oh my goodness, it's even better than GH7. It's like, wow! Like, oh, mind blown! Like, you must get it. Or if you want more, okay, fine. Let's get to business. So I'm sure you are aware of this site called Photons to Photo, right? Okay, let me see, how do I do this? Photons to photos.net. Okay, they publish dynamic range that test that they've done, and you can compare cameras against each other. Okay, here's the thing. This test, of course, the data is, you can question the data, whether it's valid or not. It is definitely up for questioning. I'm not saying that they're 100% correct, but they give some data. They did some tests based on some rigorous, strict procedures, some processes, and they've derived this conclusion, this data, where we can compare the dynamic range of different cameras. Not many sites do this. Of course, you can do your own comparison. There's nothing wrong with it. Of course, I can do my own comparison. I can compare my OM1 versus my E-M1 Mark II. I can borrow my friend's GH7, or I can borrow G9 Mark II from Panasonic Malaysia and do my own comparison. But who's going to believe me? People are just going to say, Robin, you're an Olympus fan. You know, which is not true. They basically dumped me, right? Or they ignored me for a year and I quit. And we were not really in a good relationship, me and OM Digital Solutions. It was like, you are so obviously biased. You're side with OM system. So whatever that you report, we cannot trust you. You know, I've done comparisons before. I've compared the Panasonic 25 1.4 versus the Olympus 25 f1.8, and I got grilled for it. I was burned alive. There was bloodshed everywhere. People say, Robin, you're biased. You're clearly an Olympus fanboy. Everything you say is completely not trustworthy. Everything is wrong. I don't believe what you say. I'm like, okay. I was just being honest. I reported what I see as frankly, as straightforward as I can. And people don't really want honesty. People don't care about what's right and what's wrong. People don't really care about facts. They just want to hear you tell them that, hey, my camera is the best. My camera is better than full frame. My OM1 has 2 stops better dynamic range. That's basically like full frame already, right? Full frame has 2 stops better dynamic range than micro four thirds. My camera is as good as full frame. That's what they want to hear. You tell them otherwise, they'll say, Robin, you're biased. You're such a shield. You're a sellout. All the things they're not valid. You don't even know how to use the camera. Yes, I was accused of that. So instead of me doing a comparison, let's use Photons to Photo site. Let me see if I can open up the Windows screen and make this full screen. Okay, so let's start with something older. So on this list of cameras, there were not many 12 megapixels cameras from Olympus, right? Because I think they started the test quite late. I couldn't find any 12 megapixels camera from the Micro Four Thirds lineup. So I'm going to start with maybe Olympus E5, which is DSLR. It's not a Micro Four Thirds, but it has the same sensor as, say, EP1, EP2, EP3, the 12 megapixels four thirds sensor. Let's compare it with the next jump. So we have the 12 megapixels first generation micro four thirds sensor. The next generation was EM5 and EM1, which has a 16 megapixels image sensor. So let's go to EM1 original. So the blue line represents the E5, the first generation 12 megapixels. The black line represents EM1, which is a 16 megapixels image sensor. And yet they say, oh, Robin, if you want to make new sensor, if you want to improve dynamic range and high ISO performance, you cannot have more megapixels. And here we are, we have 30% more megapixels, and yet Olympus managed to achieve more dynamic range. You can see there's a huge gap, more than one stop improvements of dynamic range. A huge jump from the first generation 12 megapixels to 16 megapixels, right? So we're gonna remove the E5. So this is the EM1, the black line remains. Let's compare EM1 to the next generation of pro-grade camera, EM1 Mark II. Do you think EM1 to EM1 Mark II will have more improvements? Because EM1 has 16 megapixels, EM1 Mark II has 20 megapixels. That's about 25% more pixels, right? So there you go. Look at that. Yes, I would say that the jump or the improvement is quite significant. It is almost one stop all across from ISO 200 all the way to ISO 6400. It is almost one stop better dynamic range, or maybe more than half a stop. You can definitely see a huge improvement there, all right? Definitely one stop improvement. One stop is a lot in terms of dynamic range. And from EM1, which was launched in 2013, 2016 was EM1 Mark II, and to have this improvement, it was amazing. It was like, wow, you know, it's like, yes, Olympus, give us more. We want this. This is getting good, right? This is a huge improvement. This is amazing. Not just we get more resolution, we also get more dynamic range. So the blue is EM1 Mark II, which is about one stop better than the EM1 Mark I. So let's remove EM1 Mark I. And a lot of people are saying that, oh, Robin, you know, the 20 megapixel sensor in the EM1 Mark II is basically the same as the Pan F anyway. Are you sure? If it is the same, then why is the performance so different? So I'm going to find the Olympus Pan F. This is the Pan F. The Pan F is the black line now. You can see, yes, the Pan F is better than EM1 original, but it is not as good as the EM1 Mark II. EM1 Mark II has about half a stop better dynamic range than the Pan F. Right, so it's clearly not the same sensor because EM1 Mark II has phase detection autofocus, Pan F doesn't have. If you look at the total number of pixels, it's also different. They're just two different sensors altogether. Although they are both micro four thirds sensors, they are not the same sensor. Let me just do this full screen. There you go. Okay, let's remove the Pan F. Okay, now we have EM1 Mark II, right? Okay, then it say, okay, Robin, the OM1 is clearly a new camera. It has new sensor, right? Oh, the OM1 has better dynamic range, better high ISO, everything is better. Are you sure? According to Photons to Photos, where is the OM1? Let me find it. Ta-da! No, it's not. It is half a stop worse than the EM1 Mark II. Half a stop worse. Okay. Obviously, I'm disappointed, right? I expected to be like, it's half a stop better, not worse. Not even the same. It's not even the same as EM1 Mark II. EM1 Mark II from 2016 is half a stop better than OM1. They'll say, okay, maybe there's something wrong with the OM1. How about OM1 Mark II? There you go. Yes, at ISO 200, it's about the same, but still you can see that EM1 Mark II is better, like a little bit better, and that's not. The point is, if you have a new camera, which is the flagship, 2 to 3 generations later, right? Because we have EM1 Mark II, EM1 Mark III, EM1 X, OM1, OM1 Mark II. That's like 4 or 5 generations later. Shouldn't it be better? Like, shouldn't there be some progress? But no. It's going backwards. It's worse than the EM1 Mark II. The blue line is EM1 Mark II. The black line is the OM1 Mark II, the latest flagship from OM system, which is very disappointing. Very, very, very disappointing. And like, I sort of knew from my photographs when I took them, I felt that because I shoot a lot with my EM1 Mark II, it's still my main workhorse. I take a lot of photographs. And then from time to time, I'll use the OM1, right? I somehow felt that not only it's not better than EM1 Mark II, but it's slightly worse whenever I try to recover shadows or highlights, it just doesn't perform as well as the E-M1 Mark II. And this chart clearly shows ISO all across until 6400. There's half a stop difference. Half a stop is a lot. Okay, it's a lot. So anyway, enough about OM1 Mark II. Then someone say, oh, but now the GH7 is even better. You know, the OM system should adopt Panasonic's sensor. Why don't we use the Panasonic sensor? Well, maybe this is the reason. Let's find Panasonic GH7. Well, let's look at GH6 first, because GH6 was also valid, right? Look at GH6. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's not talk about GH6, right? It's really, really, really bad. It's so bad that it's like one generation before E-M1 Mark II. Okay, GH7. Something interesting. If you say that, if you take the best dynamic range from GH7 versus the best dynamic range from E-M1 Mark II, yes, the GH7 is better, but only slightly better. But once you move away from ISO 100, that advantage disappears. Suddenly at ISO 200, 400, 800, all the way, even until ISO 3200 and higher, even with the dual gain on the GH7, right? Anything away from ISO 100, E-M1 Mark II is better. You can see the clear gap between the blue line and the black line. E-M1 Mark II has a huge advantage over GH7. So why should I buy the GH7? Really? Is the autofocus really that great? I don't think the autofocus on the GH7 is the same level as Sony or Canon. Have you tried Sony and Canon cameras? Like, you say, oh, the GH7 has better... No. No, man, no. Image quality alone is a downgrade, right? And I don't shoot everything at ISO 100. Yes, I think if you're a landscape photographer, you put everything on a tripod, you do everything ISO 100, or if you shoot macro, you want to use low ISO and flash, that's fine. But hey, I do events, I shoot portraits, I do a lot of street photography, sometimes in less than favorable lighting conditions. I shoot in shade, I have to boost my ISO to 400, 800. Even if I shoot at bright aperture f2.8, f1.8, I need ISO 400, 800 a lot of times. And look at that. GH7 does not give me that benefit. Obviously, E-M1 Mark II still wins by quite a far margin. If I move to ISO 1600, you can see the gap is growing, right? It's just crazy, it's just insane. So anyway, enough with GH7. Let's go to G9 Mark II. Where is G9 Mark II? There it is. There it is. We can ignore these dots that's not really solid dots. According to photons to photos, open symbols indicate values outside of the normal analog range. So I guess basically these are invalid, so we can ignore that. These are extrapolated. We can start from here. Again, ISO 100, which is a true number. It's only slightly better than E-M1 Mark II, slightly better. Slightly better. Again, the advantage quickly disappears at ISO 200, 400, 800, and beyond. Same pattern as the GH7. Basically, it's the same sensor, right? GH7, G9 Mark II. So, how can someone conclude that G9 Mark II or the GH7 has way better dynamic range, way better image quality compared to the E-M1 Mark II? It doesn't make sense. The photons to photos site clearly proved otherwise. You can choose not to trust this data, that's fine. But you can also look at DP review site or Petapixels or other reviews. A lot of them are agreeing with this finding. Basically, the new sensors from the OM1, from the GH7, from the G9 Mark II, there is not much improvement. It's basically the same as what we can get from the E-M1 Mark II and the E-M1 Mark III. And this is worrying because not only we don't have improvement, but from this chart, you can see that it's actually getting worse, right? So let's say I go to OM1 again, OM1 Mark II. Where is the OM1 Mark II? Here. Are you really happy with this? Honestly, if you have both E-M1 Mark II and the O-M1 Mark II, the latest camera, are you happy with this? Really? Like, knowing that clearly the O-M1 Mark II's performance is worse than the E-M1 Mark II. You will say, nah, I can't see the difference in real life, but hey, didn't someone just say, but Robin, O-M1 Mark II is so much better. It has 2 stops better, right? Then suddenly some people say, nah, not much difference. I'm like, no, man, no. The claims are ridiculous. Whoever made the claim that the O-M1 Mark II is better, that's actually very dangerous. It's a fraudulent claim. It's erroneous. It's just wrong. All right, wrong is wrong. All right, enough of that. Basically, what I wanted to say in this live stream is actually very, very, very simple, right? It's very simple. Let me just pull out my panels up. Make sure everything is in place. Okay, we are back. Now, I just want to show you guys that we don't have enough progress when it comes to Micro Four Thirds. And to me, that is quite disappointing. And I really want to see Panasonic and OM Digital Solutions not just pushing the computational photography, which they are not really doing a great job, by the way. They are trailing behind everyone else. I also want them to improve the core of what makes the camera great. Like, I never expected Micro Four Thirds to outperform APS-C or full frame. But I know Micro Four Thirds and APS-C is actually very, very, very close, right? But I don't expect it to outperform APS-C or full frame. But I do expect it to show some progress. And after so many years, E-M1 Mark II was launched in, 2016? Now we are almost 10 years. 10 years after the camera was launched. What we get now is worse than what we get in 2016. And to me, that's quite a letdown. What do you guys think? Do you agree with this photons to photos site? Or you say, but Robin, you're wrong. O-M1 Mark II is 2 stops better. Or do you still stick with that belief? Let me drink some coffee and get back to the chat. Time check is already 6 minutes past 11. I guess I should be drinking water instead of coffee. Drink water and coffee and get to the chat. Of course, go to my photo sharing, of course. Gotta stay hydrated. And coffee is life. Okay, so let's get to the members chat first. Wow, we have a lot of chat. Okay. Australia through my lens says 35mm Nikon is a gold class lens. I don't have the Nikon 35. I have the 50 1.8D. Gary says, despite the claims, I have not been able to get a decent shot of espresso out of my OM1. Maybe they should make decent espresso shots, right? In the next OM1 Mark III. Australia through my lens says, yes, 35 1.8 Nikon. It has some great reviews on YouTube. I can't fault the lens. It's sharp and fast focus. We have another member. Not sure why it's not showing up. Let me see. Okay. Thank you so much, Azha, for joining the member. Welcome to the Photo Walk Buddies. Really appreciate the support, and I hope you enjoy the a lot of the members only videos. And yeah, we will have members only live stream next week. So hopefully you can join us next week. Gregory says, all the dynamic range in the world will not compensate for atrophied composition skills. Atrophied composition skills. Nah, composition is composition. Dynamic range is dynamic range. If the dynamic range is bad, it's not your fault. It's the camera's fault, right? Composition is your fault, however. Gary says, and really, as a child of the 70s, all modern cameras are really quite good. That's true. That is very true. yes, I just hydrated. No worries. Gary says, PS Studio studies have shown that coffee is mostly water. It is. Gary says, well, it's not just about dynamics. Dynamic range. Okay. Hey, Juliet. How are you? Nice to see you. She says, hi, I've been joining a little late, but happy to be here. I ended up buying the OM3 for fear of tariffs. My E-M1 Mark II still rocks. It's a dedicated macro camera for now. That's awesome. Congratulations on the OM3. I hope you have fun using that camera. Gregory says, camera designers make decisions about back-end circuitry and processing that affect system performance. It's not just about the sensor. Yeah, but you don't sacrifice dynamic range, right? Like we have a new camera, it has to be better than previous generation, right? You don't go backwards, right? Yeah. Okay, let's get to the non-members chat. We're a little bit behind, but I'll do my best to catch up. Namhua says, I wonder when you will run out of food to place in that light box. Dude, I'm in Malaysia. You're Malaysian too, right? We will never run out of food, man. Sunday says, any photography events coming up? The YL Camera Fair. Anything in Stadium Manica? I have no idea. I did not check. Robin says, hello from Portland, Oregon. Hey, how are you? Nice to see you here. Aurelio says, we'll come to Barcelona. That's too far. And I've spent too much money this year already with my mom's death, which really, death is a really expensive thing. So yeah, I gotta save up. Hey, and going so far away, it's not really a wise idea, throwing money that way. Pearson says, very sorry to hear about your mom. Thank you so much, Pearson. Appreciate that. Notice your wins are coming. You are a good guy. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Appreciate the kind words and well wishes. Movie says, Robin, try the Hasselblad S1D Mark II. Maybe. Kelvin says, hi from Sebago Lake, Maine. Hey, Kelvin, how are you? Nice to see you here. Yes, busy is good. Of course, Popia is ever delicious. Hey ho, how are you? A release camera. Robin says, okay, must be certain SAR style camera. Maybe. I can't say anything now because I don't want to promise things that I can't deliver. I can say that I'm meeting them and collecting the camera tomorrow because that's true. I don't have the camera yet until I get it in my hands. Then, yeah, maybe I'll tell you guys after I have it in my hands. Yeah. Ruby says, as soon as I saw the reviews on the X1D Mark II, I have been instantly in love for it for anything but action. The size and weight is outstanding. It has 10 stops of image stabilization. Yet to be verified. They can claim the stars, they can promise the moon, right? But whether the camera can deliver the 10 stops that's another thing, right? Like Sony claims 7, 8 stops on the A7 series camera, but then the image stabilization is nowhere near what even the E-M1 Mark II can do with only 6 stops or 5 stops of stabilization. So claiming is one thing, but delivering in real life shooting, real life situation is another. It's a control environment task. Louis says, this looks like a nice community. Many thanks, guys. No worries. That's why we are here. We are catching up every week. You guys can chat with each other. No worries. Staff asks, do you know Olympus are bringing out the new 50-200? There's no more Olympus. I think you're referring to OM Digital Solutions. They already said that the lens is coming sometime second half of the year, right? Maybe towards the end of the year. And another announcement was saying that it could come out sooner than expected. So it is coming, but we have no news, or I don't have anything other than what I've heard on the rumors. I guess you've also been reading the rumor sites. So yeah. The Great Vanzini says, good morning, Robin. Hey, the Great Vanzini, how are you? Nice to see you here again. Thanks for joining the stream. Let's see if we have any members chat. Juliet says, I bought the OM3 because my job was in jeopardy for 8 months. So when I found out my job was saved, I treated myself. Yay! Good on you, Juliet. Happy to hear that. Honestly, I didn't need it, but glad I bought it. I'm having fun. Macro Photos rocks. Oh, I'm glad to hear that you got your job, or you're still keeping your job. That's fantastic news. And I think OM3 is a beautiful camera, and that camera is going to last you for years, right? So having another camera is fine. I don't think it's a bad thing. It will only be a bad thing if you don't use the camera. So my only advice to you is just use the camera. Then there's no guilt. Because the camera, once you have the camera, it helps you to capture photographs. With the photographs, you're happy, right? And that's all that matters. Shutter therapy, right? Azhar says, hey Robin, hey Azhar, how are you? Thanks for joining as a member. I bought the OM5 Mark II after watching your video. Yay, thank you. It's been only 2 weeks, but I already clocked 5,000 shutter count. Your video encouraged me to shoot more. Yes. And a lot of people are wondering, oh, I shouldn't be clicking the shutter so much. But then if you don't, your camera will die anyway, sooner or later. It's just electronics, right? Like any other electronic equipment or gear. So the only way to get back your money that's worth is to take more photographs, and those photographs will be memorable. Years from now, you're gonna look back at them, the memories and everything. Those photographs are everything. So do please shoot more with your camera. Don't worry about it so much. Okay, let's get to the chat. Non-members chat. Mark says, hello from Colorado. I'll be purchasing either the OM5 or the OM1 Mark II. I can get the OM5 at a great price pre-owned. Is the computational photography button or any new features on the OM5 Mark II really worth the extra money? Well, I already made a video to talk about it. I'm not going to repeat everything here. So, because I do have a lot of chats to go through. So for the sake of time, if you haven't seen my OM5 Mark II video, please check it out. Right. So, Mark, if you haven't seen this OM5 Mark II video, please check it out later after the stream. Right. There you go. Okay, let's see. I'm a little bit behind. I'm doing my best to catch up. Wolfie says, it is not Macro Four Thirds, can't do for macro. I don't like black backgrounds in my macro. I pull shadows and the blacks to 100% to get the background colors back. They don't look as good. Again, may I ask what software are you using? Simon says, the one downside of my E-M1 Mark II is size and weight. I always took my A6000 instead of for walk and trips, but we got great for refurbish. So EM10 Mark IV is coming. Definitely, EM1 Mark II is a flagship camera. It's a workhorse. It's made from magnesium alloy body. It has dual cut slots. I think with all these things and a larger battery as well, with all these things built in, I don't think it's fair to ask it to be smaller. Whereas the A6000 doesn't have weather sealing. It's not magnesium alloy body. Well, it has single cut slot, and battery life is not as good as EM1 Mark II. So yeah, it's made to be smaller, right? So some compromises there and here. Zach says, good morning, Robin, in the chat. Hey, Zach, how are you? Thanks for joining the stream. Who says, I can lower the shutter speed to 150 of a 125 to get more background exposure, but it's not enough. That's why I have to push the background so much. I use Lightroom. That's the problem. Maybe it's time to try some other softwares with superior dynamic range recovery capabilities. The Great Vanzini says, as an old guy, I really don't miss film. I know, right? A lot of people that have shot film, live and breathe film, they told me, good riddance. Thank goodness digital arrived. And once they've moved on to digital, they never look back. So yeah. Zach says, I use the E-M1 Mark II all the time to photograph my black cat. It's awesome for dark color animals. People ask me all the time to photograph their pets when they see my pictures. You should start a business, right? Shooting pets for people and charge them money. That's how photography business started, right? It starts with the demand, and then you do it, and you find that you're really good at it, and your clients love your photographs. That's where your business grows, right? No worries, Jane. I share what I can. Kamuyat Myram says, just thinking ahead, Robin, and more time for them to hopefully surprise us and new users coming in. Hopefully, some entry-level bodies to entice us new users. USB-C, please. Yes. Hopefully, we'll get something interesting in 2026. Hopefully. Yeah. No worries, Jane. Bocat says, hi from Brisbane. Hey, Bocat, how are you? Nice to see you here. Jan says, hi, Robin. Hope you're doing well. I'm doing all right. I talked a couple of days ago with the OM system representative who has been working since Olympus time from the beginning of Macro Four Thirds. I told him what they needed to improve. Do you think he'll listen? Or everything just goes in one ear and go through the other? Jen says, I told him that they should improve video quality and specs, and he told me that the video quality was great. Of course, he's an OM system rep. What do you expect him to say? For him, OM system is the best, right? Peter says, hey Robin, you tried the new DJI RS4 Mini? What is that? DJI RS4 Mini. Is it like a gimbal? What the hell is that? It's a gimbal, right? I don't use gimbals. Why would I use gimbals? I don't do videography. I'm a photographer. I shoot photographs. Like, those gimbals, they're just difficult. You have to understand, I am a solo content creator. When I make videos, I put a tripod, put a camera, turn on and record. I only have two hands. And when I go out and do my POV videos, I need both hands, right? And one hand to shoot photos, another hand to carry a camera. I can't deal with like 10 different products or gear at the same time. The less I have to deal with, the better. The more simplified it is, the better. Having a gimbal is like putting something extra in the back. I have to charge it. I have to calibrate it. I have to use. It's a nightmare. It's a nightmare, right? Of course, I wish that I'm big enough or I make enough money to hire another person to follow me around. And it's not my problem anymore. It's the person's problem to figure out how the gimbal works, right? But no, I can't. I can't deal with so many different things. I only have 2 hands and 1 brain and 2 eyes. And with whatever I'm doing, it's almost always overwhelming already. Like I have to do so much, right? It's just no. Please, no. Wolfie says, I have owned 9 Micro Four Thirds cameras and 35 full-frame cameras. 3 full-frame cameras, not 35. I can see and vouch for the highlights recovery is better on Olympus cameras, even on the Nikon Z6. About 1 stop better. Be careful though. And again, Lightroom is not the best software for highlight recovery. May I remind you? Camille says, does anyone know if the new OM system 150 to 600 is a Sigma lens? Well, everyone's saying it is, so... Squidart says, hello from Orlando, Florida. Hey Squidart, how are you? Anthony says, in general, stack sensor has a little less dynamic range than older sensor. Main benefit of stack sensor is faster readout. Well, if that's true, then why did people say OM1 has better image quality than E-M1 Mark II? Why did they claim that, it has 2 stops better dynamic range or a high ISO? Why is everyone saying that, GH7 has so much better dynamic range than the older Micro Four Thirds cameras? Why is everyone saying that G9 Mark II is the best camera? You must buy it. It has so much more dynamic range. If you want improvement, there it is. I'm like, I don't see the improvement in photos and photos site. I'm not questioning that stack sensor is worse. I'm just saying, I'm asking, why is everyone throwing all these things at me? I'm like, are they even true? Where is this all coming from? Yeah. Okay, let's see. Ho says, where is Ho? What I like from you is the honesty. You say bad product when it's bad, not sugarcoating, though everyone is entitled to their own opinion, so let them be. Yeah, it's true. If you want to believe that OM1 and OM Mark II can give you 2 stops better high ISO or G9 Mark II or GH7 has so much better dynamic range, like you get so much more, like you really believe that? Yeah, go for it. Who am I to tell you otherwise, right? Believe whatever you want, whatever that makes you happy. Flappy Sock says, what I've noticed is that E-M1 Mark II is better than the E-M1 Mark III according to Photons to Photos, but they should be the same. No, they are not. E-M1 Mark II is better. Why do you think I have the E-M1 Mark II still until now? Why do you think I still use E-M1 Mark II today as my workhorse? E-M1 Mark II. Yeah. There's a reason, right? Because it's so much better than a lot of other cameras. Yep, Olympus peaked at the 2nd generation. I agree with that. Anthony says, DSO and Capture One do a far job at processing Olympus and OM system raw files than Adobe. Yep, I agree. Flappy Sock says, something is up with the E-M1 Mark II score. Yeah. Gary says, Olympus could have made changes to the back-end circuitry for ease of manufacturing or something else unrelated to the system performance. That is true. Wolfie says, at least the GH7 offers 5 megapixels more than other cameras that don't live up to the E-M1 Mark II. That's true. That's true. For some people, the 5 megapixels, they do make a difference. But I still feel that not big enough of a difference. Give us 8 megapixels, 10 megapixels, then we talk, right? Give us a 28 megapixels or 30 megapixels or 33 megapixel sensor, then we talk. Anthony says, I feel that Sony has held back their best sensor technology away from the competition. No, the sensor is there, just whether Olympus, OM System, or Panasonic want to buy them or not. Whether they want to or not, the sensors are there. They have already released a sensor, the patents are out there, just whether people want to use them or not. Yeah. Anthony says, unfortunately, when it comes to sensor technology, Sony has the monopoly until another company. No, that's not true. I don't think they want to intentionally hold back the technology. Even if you give the best micro four sensor for Olympus system and Panasonic, they still can't beat full frame, right? Full frame will always be ahead. That's just physics, right? Let's say current generation. They will never be able to be better than full frame. There's nothing for Sony to fear. And there's only so much for OM system and Panasonic to lose out if they don't use the best sensor that's out there. Make sense? Yeah. Manasa says, of course, Robin, maybe they sell about new feature, but most downgrade the sensor. Why? Doesn't make any sense. Bruce says, I feel that E-M1 Mark II data is skewed horizontally. If you look at E-M1 Mark II and E-M1 Mark III, E-M1 Mark III is worse. They are the same sensor. Just because they use the same sensor doesn't mean they can get the same results. Remember, E-M1 Mark II and E-M1 Mark III has different processors, different true peak processors. The way the data is being squeezed out into the raw file is different. The way the raw file is being processed is different, right? And people say raw is raw, there's no processing. That's wrong. Raw files are already processed, and there is some noise reduction applied in the raw file in all cameras. I'm not just talking about Olympus or Micro Four Thirds files. Sony, Canon, Nikon, there's some noise reduction already applied in the raw files during processing. Same as dynamic range, how they can maximize the dynamic range that's captured in the raw file. There's a processing that's involved. So the different true peak, I don't know E-M1 Mark II is using what true peak, but I know that E-M1 Mark III has a different true peak processor. So yeah. Ho says, I feel like once over 5 years refresh release is good enough to see progress, but then we don't see any progress, right? Same thing as A7 Mark IV, got a worse dynamic range than A7 Mark III. Really? Let me check. A7 Mark IV. Sony A7. A7 Mark IV and A7 Mark III. Really? What are you looking at? Okay, let's look at the Windows screen. Okay, the blue line is A7 Mark IV, blue, right? The black line is A7 Mark III. In every single point that I see, A7 Mark IV is better until ISO 800, then the A7 Mark III is slightly better. And you can say that it's negligible, it's about the same. And bear in mind that A7 Mark IV has 33 megapixels and A7 Mark III has 24. That's about 30% increase of resolution. And considering that fact, A7 Mark IV, I would say is better. Like, we are seeing different things, man. Very different things. Okay. Reading data is another skill, right? Being able to interpret information, that's another skill. Chuck says, the only problem I had with the E-M1 is the viewfinder felt washed out compared to my A7 Mark IV, but it seems I've gotten used to it. E-M1 original? Okay. But I've never had issues with the viewfinder on the Olympus because it always feels very good. It's the optics, the lens that you use on the viewfinder is always superior than Sony. Yeah. How E-M1X is worse than E-M1 Mark II? Well, E-M1X has dual processor. It's a different processor, right? The way they save the file is different. So yeah. Anthony says, if OM Systems was to introduce an all-new E-M1 Mark III with an all-new 24-megapixel stack sensor with the powerful image processor, would that be enough improvement? Make it 30. 24 is not enough. Corner Store says, I'm about to start my photography journey. E-M1 Mark II is going to be the one I'm going to get. Thanks to your videos, funny I get on and you got a live about it. Yeah, I just said it. E-M1 Mark II has worse dynamic range than E-M1 Mark II, which was launched like almost 10 years ago. Good luck with the E-M1 Mark II, man. Amaka says, looking at the market and how everyone is playing it quite safe, it seems that innovation is held back by fear of underperformance. Look at films, games, remakes, reboots, same old stuff. It makes no sense because Micro Four Thirds is like barely surviving. They need to pull out every trick up the sleeves to win back the lost audience, the crowd, and also to gain a little bit more market share. Because if they don't do anything soon, pretty much micro four thirds will disappear. They are less than 5% in the market now. It's very alarming. And one of the ways to win people back is to improve dynamic range, right? Yeah. Chuck says, how long do you imagine the lifespan for the rubber seals used for weather sealing? I don't know, hey. I wouldn't give it more than 5 years. No matter how great the weather sealing is, it will disintegrate, right? The rubbers and the seals, everything. And the only way to be 100% sure is to send the camera back to OM Digital Solutions to get them have a thorough check and let them see, take a closer look at the seals and let you know whether it's still intact or not. Okay, time check is almost 11:30, so I will pause on the comments here and I will drink some water and coffee before I share my photographs. Let's go to here. Okay. 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 So, last week I went out to do insect macro photography. I tried exploring this new park, and at the same time I was making a video to talk about why micro four thirds is awesome for insect macro photography. And basically the reasons are we have more magnification, we have more depth of field, we have superior image stabilization, which not only helps with steadying your shots for handheld shooting, but also for steadying the live view on the electronic viewfinder and the LCD screen so that not everything will be shaky. You won't get headaches after shooting for hours. And of course, being smaller and lighter, it's easier to handle compared to full frame equivalent. And image quality is definitely more than good enough. I actually went out with this EPL7 and the 60 f2.8 macro, just the EPL7. And these are the shots that I got. Give me a moment while I set this up. Okay, there we have it. Spider. This is EPL7 and 60 f2.8 macro. So awesome. So awesome. Of course I don't use focus stacking. I can't use focus stacking. The leaf just keeps moving. If the leaf don't move, the spider moves. The spider is a jumping spider. It jumps, okay? It moves all the time. It's a very curious, very friendly spider. It just keeps moving and moving and moving and moving and moving. And of course it's not all black, right? Like I understand your issues, Woofy, but I have gotten a lot of shots that are not all black. So yeah. The same spider, it's just like from here to here is the next 3 seconds. The spider just keeps moving and moving and moving. Like I just can't stack. It's impossible. Dragonfly. This is very standard dragonfly. Again, no black background, Woofy. Right. You see the eyes in focus. Dragonfly. Again, no black background. This is nice dragonfly. I actually like this shot. I know this is not really a close-up shot, but symmetrically, the colors, the overlay of the green and the brown, and everything just looks so proportionate, looks so balanced. I don't know. Of all the shots, this is my favorite shot from this session. I know there's nothing spectacular about it. Like, you can't win any awards with this. It's not really anything out of the ordinary. Sometimes it's a normal photographs that's your favorites, and that's fine. This is such a normal photograph, and I love this shot. Okay, zoom in, close up time. I attach the, what was that? The Nisi filter for this one particular shot, just this one shot. You can see some dust particles on the eye, which is really strange. So yeah, this is without the Nisi filter, so you can't get that much closer. So that's 1:1, 100% magnification, right? Like, I understand you want to prevent the black background, but I don't know, I don't see a lot of black backgrounds in this particular session. Right. That's the one of the smaller baby mantis, praying mantis. Always a joy to find them. Usually they don't run away, they just stay there, and I was hoping that they will find a prey and start chopping the head off of something. I've seen it happen once or twice. Once was there was one huge mantis chopping the wing off a butterfly. Another one was a mantis chopping a head of a dragonfly. Like literally the head was chopped off. I was hoping for such action, but considering how many dragonflies were there, nothing happened. I was a little bit disappointed. So yeah. I don't know what this is. Honestly, I have no idea what this is. I guess we can use Google Lens and identify this, right? And do a quick search on what this is. I really have no idea what this is. It's my first time seeing this, and the eye is so pretty. Look at the eyes, it's so pretty. So yeah. And a butterfly, which is pretty cool. I mean, look at the details. Look at the eye. Look at that. Look at the details. Oh my goodness. Again, this is not pure black, right? Like, even this background is quite dark already. I still managed to recover the details. Look at the eyes. It's amazing. Okay. Yeah, this is pure black. And intentionally, for this particular shot, I wanted it to be black. Because it just highlights the caterpillar better. It just pops out instantly, right? And sometimes it's good to have all black. Sometimes you don't want it to be all black. But if this is all black, it's fine because you can really see all the fur. Is that what you call them? I don't even know if it's fur or well, in Malay we call it bulu, right? All the bulus popping up, and it's nice because this caterpillar, it sort of like went up for a while and it came down. It just went up for that 2 seconds and it just grabbed the shot, which is pretty cool. And I thought like the dark background sort of highlighted the caterpillar a little bit better. It just jumps out immediately, right? Beetle, standard beetle, a lot of these beetles. And what's the name of this thing? There's a name. This thing actually moves. It's quite scary. It moves and it's like, wow, what the hell is this thing? It's pretty cool. It actually eats the leaf, right? It's one of the pests that a lot of people hate when they do gardening or they have like leaves and everything. So yeah, and of course, not a spider, not a bug, not an insect. I call this lizard, and because I have the 60 f2.8, 60 gives me 120 equivalent. It's a little bit of medium telephoto, and this thing doesn't seem like it was afraid of me. I was afraid it would charge at me because it's quite huge, and I think if it bites me, the bite might be infectious. It may carry some bacteria that might cause me harm. So I was like, okay, please don't come to me. Please don't come to me. It didn't. It just stayed there, and yeah, no sudden movements, and I grabbed this shot. But it was pretty cool. Look at that. It's pretty cool. And if you look closely, I don't know if I can go closer. There are like, I think, flies or mosquitoes buzzing around, which is pretty cool, right? There we go. Like there are insects buzzing around it, which is pretty cool. An ant, like carrying a lake or something. I don't know what this ant is doing. An ant, right? This is not an ant. This is an ant mimic spider. And I knew immediately because it wasn't moving. An ant will always try to move. It always moves. It doesn't stay still. This was very still. And this was perhaps the only one, if you want to do focus stacking, it may be successful. But I did not. There was no wind and it was very still. So it's possible to do focus stacking on this, but I did not do focus stacking. This was a single shot, but you can see the details on the eyes and everything. This is an ant mimic spider. It's a spider, it mimics an ant, which is pretty cool. I shot this at Fraser's Hill recently, and I found this here in this local park, which is pretty cool. The eye wasn't in focus, but I was okay because you can see the wing, the abdomen, and the sting at the butt, and the legs and everything, and the antenna. So the eye was a little bit out of focus. That's fine. You can see the details of everything, which is pretty cool. I forgot what this was, but I've shot this before. Scorpion fly? No, it wasn't scorpion. It was something else. It was something else. Same one, just from a different angle, and this time the eye is in focus. Just pretty cool. Look at that. right? And a beetle. I don't know what beetle this is, but you can see the details, the eyes, the legs, and everything, and the abdomen and everything. It's just so cool. Right, that's the last shot. And a video showing all these photographs will be published soon. I think maybe 1 or 2 months from now, talking about basically why Micro Four Thirds is awesome for macro photography. And I still think Micro Four Thirds is the best system for macro photography. So there you go. Let me get to the chat. Before that, let me drink more water just to stay hydrated. Time check is 22 minutes to midnight. I guess I'll just read through the rest of the comments until we finish, right? Do we have some coffee left? Yes, we have. I hope you guys enjoyed the photo sharing, the inside macro. I know there are not a lot of action. I was hoping I can get like 2 beetles having sex, or spider eating something, or 2 dragonflies or damselflies having sex. I didn't find any, but that's the problem. I did not spend enough time doing my inside macro. Like, you have to be out there every day for like 4 or 5 hours a day to find all these insects. It's not like you go there and it's there. You have to be out there constantly to see all these things happening. It's much like street photography, right? If you're out there enough, chances of you finding weird things or those moments, those dramatic moments, is higher. The more you're shooting, the more you're out there, the higher chance is getting the shots, right? So I admit I don't spend enough time doing my macro, but I want to do more. Let me get to the members chat first. Gary says, what is out among the jumping spiders? Robin is okay. The jumping spiders are generally very friendly, and to a point where if you get too close, they'll just jump on your lens, right? I'm sure that happened to a lot of macro shooters before. Gary says, 30 megapixels is well below the diffraction. Nah, that's not true. That's not true. Gary says, more of a pixel's physical size is taken out by shift and power delivery circuitry than the sensor size. Plenty of room to shrink pixel sizes. That is correct, yeah. And to increase actual sensor area. Yes, Gregory. Gary says, dragon deciding if you look good enough to eat. It does look like a dragon, right? Minus the wings. If it has wings, then I'm like, oh my goodness, that does not look real. Gary says sensor as in pixel, not the entire sensor. No worries. Humans have lots of bacteria in their mouths too. Dragon probably worrying if Robin will bite. Robin doesn't bite. Don't worry. Juliet says, incredible macro shots. After so many years, I can't believe I've not shot macro much, so I put the 60 on the E-M1 Mark II and have been practicing. Your videos helped. No worries. I'm glad that that you're trying. And I know that I've shared a lot of techniques before, but if you have found newer, more simplified techniques, which I'm not doing, please follow the newer techniques, because I've been doing macro for a long time. I'm not the best macro photographer out there. There are a lot of better, newer photographers that you can refer to. Emily Taupin is one from the US. She's an sorry. Why do I say Olympus? OM System Ambassador. There are a lot of other amazing macro photographers that you can follow. They share a lot of tips as well. And Emily Taupin, she also does videos to share tutorials on how to get amazing macro shots. So yeah. Juliet says, it's not as easy as one would think. My hands are not as steady, so thank goodness for stabilization. Yes, image stabilization definitely helps. Australia Through My Lens says, I started photography in 1988. No idea why, but I literally only started trying macro photography this year. Amazing! Welcome to the club. And I think macro photography is amazing. This world of little creatures is just so cool. And I think digital photography helps. I think back in 1988 there was a film, and even the earlier days of digital photography is just difficult, right? Like these days with all the technology, improvement of autofocus, smaller cameras and lenses, with even more magnification, right, with Micro Four Thirds, and the help of 5-axis image stabilization, definitely that helps a lot to get higher chances of getting the shot for macro photography. Thanks, Azhar. I appreciate the kind words. Let's get to the non-members chat. Danoncho says, "Hi Robin, hey, how are you? E-M1 Mark II is really impressive even in 2025. I want one too, maybe next year. I had the E-M5 Mark II, but now I have the 5D Classic, and it's also amazing. It recently had a birthday. You should get one if you can find one in a good condition at a very good price. And it should be really at really low price now, considering there's so many newer cameras, right? E-M1 Mark III, E-M1X, OM1, so many new flagships after the E-M1 Mark II. You should find one at a very good price. And I still use my E-M1 Mark II for my paid jobs as my workhorse cameras, so definitely it's still a great camera in 2025. Now, coming back to a lot of people saying that, you know, like the photons to photo site is maybe skewing the results for E-M1 Mark II. May I remind you, if you go to DxO Mark's site, like, let me see if I can find DxO Mark. DxO Mark has E-M1 Mark II, but it doesn't have the latest cameras, so that's why I didn't use the site. Let me see if I can find E-M1 Mark II. Okay. Okay, we have E-M1 Mark II, but just see if I can compare it to something else. No, I can't. I compare it. You can also verify this E-M1 Mark II. Well, there's no E-M1 Mark III or the newer cameras, but if you compare the E-M1 Mark II versus Panasonic G9, I did that before. I just don't know how to do it now because the site's a little bit messy. How do I do the comparing different cameras? Let's try. I'll give it a try if I can. If I can't, then it's fine. All right. Let's see. Okay, I think I found it. Let's find. Okay, I found one. And let's find Panasonic. Panasonic G9, G9. GH4. Panasonic G9. Give me a moment, guys. I search G9 and all the Canons G9 pop up. There's no Panasonic G9. Surprising. Well, anyways, even you can verify this. The scores of the E-M1 Mark II on DxO Mark's site is like amazing. It's incredible. So it's not only one site that's reporting the high scores for the E-M1 Mark II. We can check the DxO Mark as well. It's a very special camera. Donancho says 5D is still a professional camera. I shot some professional shoots with it. Recently it produces amazing images. Well-made pro camera and are timeless. I'm sure E-M1 Mark II is the ultimate camera that I want. That's amazing. You will definitely see some improvements using the E-M1 Mark II over the 5D. It's like a different generation already. Someone says, why you need gimbal with micro four thirds? I sometimes do hybrid work with E-M1 Mark II. No gimbal needed there. I think for small movements, that's fine. But if you're running and gunning, you're running and following a subject, you want everything to be smooth, then of course you need a gimbal. Nothing beats a gimbal. But if you're just handheld, small movement, like walking a little bit, light movements, that's fine. I think without a gimbal, it's fine. Christoph says, hi Robin, in April of this year, I was looking for a camera under $1,000 with a lens for family photos after the baby was born. The best option of the price was E-M1 Mark II with the 12-40 f2.8 Pro. I hope you've taken a lot of good photos of your baby with that combination. And the 12-40, the amazing thing is if you zoom all the way to 40, you can go so close, you can capture those, like, I hope you did, the baby feet and the fingers and the toes, all the tiny details, and going close to the eyes and everything, all the details. you don't need a macro lens. 12-40 is good enough for that. Zach says, I see professional photographers still using the 5D and 5D Mark II. Yes, both excellent cameras. Crystal says, after buying the EM1, started watching a lot of your videos and buying additional lenses. I have the best results of the Olympus 17 1.2, also have the 75 f1.8. Amazing, amazing lenses. I love the 75 f1.8. Ruby says, Robin, have you seen the Sigma 12 f1.4 for APS-C? If Sigma can make such a compact and fast, ultra-fast wide-angle lens, why Olympus can't make a Pro 12 f1.4? I think the answer to that, Olympus 12 f1.2, not f1.4, they were saying that they can't make the f1.2 because that's going to be too big, but they didn't say f1.4. And we do have quite a compact Panasonic 12 f1.4, right? Like, are you aware of that? Let me see. I did a review of that before. Robin Wong, Panasonic 12mm f1.4. Yep. Panasonic is on Ming Tian's site. I was writing on his site back then. f1.4 review. So please read this if you have not done so. If you need 12 f1.4 for Micro Four Thirds, that's your answer. There you go. Zach says, it will cost Sony more money to make a downgrade sensor for the competition and sell it as a regular one. I will open them up to lawsuits. It's not Sony's fault. Nobody's buying from Sony. Sony's selling them, just nobody's buying, right? It's One System and Panasonic, they're not buying. It's not Sony that don't want to sell. It makes no sense for Sony not to sell. They want to make profit from sensor sales as well. Vic says, coincidence, just got my E-M1 Mark II delivered yesterday. Awesome. I hope you enjoy the camera. I'm sure you will. Okay, let's see. Paul says, do you think Micro Four Thirds could survive if they pull Fuji X-Half card? Nah. I think the fans will scream at them and they'll lose whatever fans that they have. Aurelio says, how can you get that close to a dragonfly? Dragonflies are quite people-friendly. Somehow, I don't know. And these are at the park nearby, so I guess there are people running around in the park. They are used to people's presence. And yeah, not an issue getting close to dragonflies. Yeah. Anthony says, going with 30 megapixels or more, don't you think there's a risk of image quality loss? Why? Like, for example, if you compare Nikon Z7 or Z7 Mark II versus Z6 or Z6 Mark II, that 45 megapixels versus 24 megapixels, there's no image quality loss. Dynamic range at high ISO is slightly better on the high megapixel camera, right? If you compare Canon, for example, the R5 Mark II versus the R6 Mark II, the 40-something megapixels versus the 24 megapixels. The R5 and R5 Mark II has better dynamic range and high ISO performance compared to the lower megapixel count camera, right? Same story with Sony, right? If you compare Sony A7R Mark V that has a 61 megapixels versus A7 Mark IV that has 33 megapixels, basically half of the pixel count, the A7R Mark V or Mark IV has better dynamic range and slightly better high ISO compared to the lower megapixel camera. Like, the argument that less pixels equate to better image quality is wrong. If you compare just within a Micro Four Thirds system, from 12 megapixel sensor, the first generation, to the second generation, I just showed you earlier in the charts, right? First generation, 12 megapixels to 16 megapixels, there's more than one stop jump in dynamic range improvement. Same with high ISO. From the second generation to third generation, from the 16 megapixels to the 20 megapixel sensor in the E-M1 Mark II, there's another one stop jump. That's huge. One stop and then another one stop. So from 12 to 16, more than one stop. From 16 to 20, another one stop. Like, why? Why can't you make more pixels and increase image quality or at least maintain it? I don't see why that's not possible, right? Yeah. The idea that increasing megapixels will lose or compromise image quality is wrong. Look at Canon, look at Nikon, look at Sony. Do you need more evidence? Amaka says, lovely macro shots. Good job. Thank you so much for the kind words. Appreciate that. Wolfie says, it depends how much daylight and direct light you have on the background. Heading into autumn now, there are a lot of dark grey days. That is not enough to save the backgrounds. It was a cloudy day, almost raining. It wasn't a bright, sunny day. Wolfie. Or else I'll be hiding in the shadows and will not shoot anymore. Camille says, can you get similar results to the macro shots by using macro ring lights? No, you can't. You need a flash. 12-100 f4 has a minimum focusing distance of 15. No. A macro lens is a macro lens. A non-macro lens is a non-macro lens. You cannot use a non-macro lens to achieve the same results unless you attach, say, extension tubes or a macro lens or close-up lens in front of the lens. You need certain attachments to gain magnification. The 60 macro lens gives you true 1:1 magnification, which is equivalent 2:1 magnification on the Micro Four Thirds crop. Whereas the 12-100, the magnification is, let's see, Olympus 12-100 millimeters f4 magnification. It's only 0.2 times or 0.4 times equivalent. So 60 millimeters lens, the macro lens, has 5 times more magnification than the 12-100 lens. Yes, you can shoot like larger things, like a huge butterfly or, I don't know, a huge lizard or something that's large, or a gigantic spider, for example. But if you want to shoot ants or like tiny bugs, a small beetle or something really, really small, no, you need a macro lens. There's just no substitute for that. Or unless you attach some like extension tubes or something to help you to get closer to the subject. About ring lights, I'm not a fan of it because ring lights will create all this circular reflections on the insect's eyes, and it just makes it look very unnatural, very ugly. It's just very, very wrong. And also ring light is too flat. I don't like the flatness of the lighting. I prefer a little bit directional. I want a little bit of highlight and shadow to create the 3-dimensional pop. Ring light is just flat. It's unflattering. Yeah. Anthony says, I would love to see a new sensor with 28 megapixels a resolution, but I'm not sure if it's a possible current sensor. They already have it. They already have it, right? Sony new Micro Four Thirds sensor. Let me see if I can just quickly pull some information. New 30 megapixel sensor. This is in 2021. Right. I also remember reading about a new 47 megapixels. Okay, this is on Petapixel site. Sony has developed a 47 megapixels Micro Four Thirds sensor that can shoot 8K 30p videos. This is on Petapixel. Okay, 47 megapixels Micro Four Thirds sensor. 47 megapixels Micro Four Thirds sensor. You can read that up. Sony has made those sensors. You're saying that if they can, no, they have those sensors. Whether OM Digital Solutions and Panasonic want to buy those sensors or not from Sony is another problem. I don't know why people keep saying that, you know, if they can make it or not. They already have. I just don't understand why they don't use them. Yeah. Okay, let's get to the members chat. Gary says, so glad to see you participating here. I always look forward to seeing you pop up. You're talking to Wolfie, right? Always happy to see Wolfie here as well. Australia's Through My Lens says, one thing that surprised me with the E-M1 Mark II is how amazing it is at shooting video. I use it for vlogging at home and street videos as well. Well, my videos on this channel were probably shot on the E-M1 Mark II. It was on the E-M5 Mark III before, but I switched to E-M1 Mark II for simplicity's sake. Gary says, OM1 was the indestructible workhorse. OM2, the electronic wonder. Since OM1 already does everything, it's hard to see how they could improve. I would like to see OM2 anyway, full circle. Okay, all right. Optical design traits, minimum focusing distance versus aperture, a challenge. Modern macro lenses are quite amazing. Okay. Australia Through My Lens says 12 to 50 has a macro button. Going to test that and without extension too. Yes, you can do that. It gives you about 0.4 times magnification or 0.8 if I'm not wrong. Yep. Gary says, I think he might be referring to a screw-on macro lens, ring macro. Screw-on macro lens. Like the Nisi close-up lens, right? That I've reviewed before. Yeah. Okay, Chuck says, I've heard Komodos have a lot of bacteria in their mouth as well. Yeah, let's not get near them. Shooting from a distance is fine. Aurelio says, amazing shots. No worries, thank you so much. Danoncho says, wow, I didn't know that spider ants exist. Yeah, people say that animals don't lie. No, humans lie. No, that's not true. Animals will lie their entire life. They pretend to be someone they are not so that they can get close to whatever that they're mimicking and eat them when they don't realize it. Animals do lie, and humans lie all the time. I just don't get it. People say, no, I prefer to be with my cats and dogs because they don't lie. They're telling the truth. No. Animals lie all the time. Wolfie says, I always love and admire your macro photography images. Thank you for sharing them. No worries, Wolfie. No worries. I share what I can. And honestly, those are not great photographs. Like I said before, right? I was hoping for more dramatic shots, but I guess I'm not out enough. I should be shooting more to find those insects, like, you know, 2 dragonflies having sex, or, you know, a spider eating something, or molting, or I've actually shot a cicada molting before, which is pretty cool. Changing skin. Molting is changing skin. Or, you know, like a spider eating another insect, or a mantis eating another insect or something. That would be really cool, right? But yeah, no luck this time. Red Vanzini says, I've got to get my 60 macro out and try to find something interesting like yours, but I think you have more diverse bugs. You'll be surprised by what you can find. You just have to go out first. Yeah. Thanks, Danoncho. Appreciate that. Appreciate the kind words. Chuck says, I have the 60 macro and the FLM3 flash. Is there a flash you recommend to use off camera with the remote control mode? If you want older flash, which will be really cheap now, FL50R, which is the one that I'm using now, FL50R, or some of the newer flashes like FL600R, 700R, or 900R, if budget is not a concern. But having said that, you might want to check out some third-party flashes as well. I'm not aware of these flashes. I'm not saying not aware. I'm aware of them. I'm just not keeping track. I'm not updated on which model which. Godox is a good brand that you can rely on. A lot of people have said wonderful things about Godox. They are not expensive. You might want to try to look into those cheaper alternatives as well. Uwe says, macro is what I have shot most this year. I have over 700 keepers for the last 7 months. That's amazing. I should be doing more macro, Wolfie. I'll catch up. Thanks, Simon. Appreciate the kind words. Zach says, insect sex. Robin out there trying to be the next insect pimp. Why not? Why not? Simon says, good, there's no spider sex, so need for 18 plus verification. You guys, come on. Danonjo says, I once helped Jumping Spider with his hunt. I gave him a plastic cup and was bringing him to flowers. He jumped on hovering flies while ensuring himself with his web so not to fall to climb back. Wow. Okay. But I try not to interfere with nature. Like, if the spider can hunt, it should hunt by itself. You know, let's not disturb. Let the nature run its course, right? Wolf says, Robin, can you offer a shout out for my late daughter? It was her birthday 2 days ago and she would have been 4 years. Oh, so sorry to hear that, Wolfie. Well, to Wolfie's daughter, wow, well, happy birthday. It was 2 days ago, right? Well, happy belated birthday. And it would have been an awesome 4 years of life, right? What a waste. What a tragic incident. So sorry to hear that. But yeah, I'm glad that you're here, Wolfie. Hey, we're celebrating the birthday together with her. All of us here feel for you. And yeah, I'm glad that you're sharing this with us. Life goes on, right? Anthony says, I'm hoping because OM System is soon going to announce the 50-200 lens that next year in February, hopefully we'll introduce E-M1 Mark III and also a new Panasonic style camera. We can only hope for the best, right? Linda says, if Olympus peaked at 2nd generation, I'll still pick the E-M5 Mark III over the 2 for the face detect autofocus. Yeah, definitely. So sorry for the loss. Yes, Wolfie, so sorry to hear that as well. Agreed with Zach, so sorry to hear that. No worries, Wolfie. Really, I really feel you. And yeah, with the recent passing of my mom, that hits even harder, right? Like, yeah, I'm still grieving myself, and grief is not easy. So yeah, hang in there, buddy, Wolfie. Hang in there, and yeah, take as much inside macro as you can. I can. I should be doing more inside macro as well. Trev says, "Hi Robin, I watched your video about the Panasonic 100 to 300. You like that one, right? Is it really that good?" I didn't say it's that good. Between that and 75 300, yeah, I'll pick anyone. I intend to get one for the E-M5 Mark II. Just want to ask if it has a significant flaw. The only thing is that it's larger than 75 300, and I think it benefits with the image stabilization if you're using it on a non-stabilized body, but the E-M5 Mark II has a image stabilization, so not really a big issue. If you can find one in the good condition between the 100 to 300 and the Olympus 75 to 300, doesn't really matter which one. Both are great lenses. Gary says, "So sorry for your loss, Wolfie." So sorry to hear that as well. IVCC says, "I've been using the E-M1 Mark II more heavily lately for more than just birds and wildlife. Paired with the 21.4, it makes for a great everyday carry. Still love the Mark I, but that dreaded rear dial." Oh, but the rear dial is a manufacturing defect. You can get it. Well, there was a time you can get it fixed for free. You should have. Once you get it fixed, and the problem is gone. I'm lucky that my E-M1 doesn't have that problem. I understand the rear dial, like, it doesn't respond, right? It's fiddly. Yes, you can get it fixed for free, but now the fix for free period is over, unfortunately. Anthony says, "I'm hoping for OIM system introduce the OIM Mark III, 30 megapixels. Hopefully that happens. Let's get to the members chat. Gary says, "One of the issues with responding to members first is that the comment I'm responding to comes much later." No worries, Gregory, no worries. Gary says, "Tigers lie. I saw Jungle Book." Yeah, I know, right? Juliet says, "When between the E-M1 Mark II for volunteer jobs, macro and occasional video, and the OIM 3 for everything else, including a little wildlife, I'm set. I do want a good zoom though. I only have primes. Any ideas? 12 to 40 is an amazing lens, 40 to 150 or 12 to 100, any of the zoom lenses, depending on your needs, right? I'll say for general use, 12 to 40 is a must-have. Yeah. Let's get to the other chat. Let me drink some coffee. It's already past midnight. I'll just read all the comments and then we'll call it the night. GG Wildlife says, "I love my f2 12mm on the EPL9. I think I need to try the 60 macro on it and take it off the E-M1 Mark III. Well, if you have the E-M1 Mark III, just use the 60 on the E-M1 Mark III. It has 5-axis image stabilization, a viewfinder, definitely a better camera, better handling, right? The reason I use it on the EPL7 for that video also, I want to prove a point. Like, hey, you don't need the latest and greatest. You don't need flagship professional grade camera to take great results. Even an entry-level camera like this simple EPL7 from I don't know how many years ago can also take amazing results, can deliver really, really good shots, right? So that's the point I was trying to make. But if you already have the E-M1 Mark III, just use the E-M1 Mark III. It's a fantastic camera. Yep. Camille says, "Just heard the 5200 f2.8 lens got leak announcement date September 10th. Really? Was it on the 43 rumor site?" Really? Okay. I still think it'll be on a Tuesday. I don't know. I could be wrong. Simon says, "I would compare OM1 and E-M1 Mark II in real world, but using Darktable or raw therapy because it shows real raw files, not Lightroom." Okay. And I've compared it. I've done my own comparisons on the Capture One software. I gotta say, E-M1 Mark II is better. Zach says, "Dragonflies hate people here in America, probably because they have to deal with us Americans." Nah. That's not true. Nan says, "I recently joined the Micro Four Thirds Club, but with the EM10 Mark IV. It replaces the A6000 as my primary camera. You gain image stabilization, you gain a lot more features, right? Like silent shutter, you gain live composite, you get a lot of capabilities with that camera." Kama says, "Robin, I didn't mean extension tubes. I wrote it wrong. What do you think of the extension tubes?" I would think extension tubes work better with smaller lenses, especially prime lenses. Like if you put extension tubes on, say, a 45 f1.8, they'll be better than the 12 to 100 because that lens is huge and handling something so large for macro is not ideal. Do you have any other smaller lenses? Even the kit lens like 14 to 42 with the extension tube will work better than the 12 to 100. Yeah. Penny Steam says, except possibly the 12 to 60 old kit lens, which has a macro mode. I think it's a 1250, right? Not 1260. Chuck says, with the 60 macro combined with the stack Raynox DCR 150 or 250, I can get to almost 2 times, but the working distance drops to about 1 inch. The working distance is a problem, right? Yeah. Ruby says, I might be able to get back into the macro photo system when they update E-M1 Mark III if it's worth it. If not, I might just stick with the older E-M1 Mark II or the E-M5 Mark III or the Panasonic GX8 for infrared. Sounds like a good plan, and I really hope that OM Digital Solutions get the shit together and give us the wow camera that we all deserve, right? Andrew says, great sharing tonight, Robin. I gotta call it a night. Catch up again next week. And it's already very late. Good night to you, Andrew. Thanks for joining and hope to see you again next week. DW says, I prefer image from OM1 than E-M1 Mark III, but the difference is not big. Yeah, but we're talking about E-M1 Mark II, right? The E-M1 Mark II definitely has better images, especially high ISO and dynamic range compared to the OM1. It's also proven by the DxO site, which I've just shown earlier. And Blue says, Canon shooter here, latecomer to the E-M1 Mark II system, and thank you for your videos, big help, still learning, no worries. I share as much as I can, and yeah, I'm glad that you found my videos useful. Penny Steam says, I switched to the E-M1 or OMD1, I guess E-M1 Mark II earlier this year for the 4K video, mainly using the 12 to 60 lens, which maintains focus even when adjusting the zoom in electric mode. It outperforms my newer Fuji SS20. Of course. Wolfie says, thanks Robin, appreciate it. No worries, Wolfie. Christoph says, jumping spiders topic, I have a few in my house from Asia also. You keep spiders? That is so cool. And then says, I hope when system engineers are listening to your channel, nah, I doubt they do. And checking off the wish list that us macro photo shooters want to see in future cameras. I'm like the least important people for them, right? This is a nobody from Malaysia. Why would they listen to me? Linda says, give those dragonflies their privacy. Don't intrude on their love making. I'm sure they don't mind us watching. They want to show to the whole world, and they'll be proud for us to see them make love, right? Anthony says, do you think the issue is that OM system does not have the processor power? You know, what nonsense. I'm sure they have. Like Sony, Canon, Nikon have powerful processors. They can just buy whatever processor they want, right? And it says, without the camera slowing down too much. I'm sure they can. Corona says, I'm using the E-M1 Mark II and was wondering what wide-angle lens would you recommend for a beginner for landscapes and some astrophotography. If you want as wide as possible, then maybe 7-14, but if you want brighter aperture, if you don't mind losing a bit of width, then Panasonic 9 f1.7. If you don't mind going manual focus, I think Laowa 6 f2 is a good choice. That is the widest rectilinear micro four thirds lens, but you need to deal with manual focus. If it's for landscapes and astrophotography, I'm sure you don't mind. Let me just find my lens review for that. Okay. Found it. How do I share this? Give me a moment. Internet is loading. Share. Copy. Okay. Laowa 6 f2. It's f2. It's bright enough for astrophotography, and it's the widest lens for micro four thirds system that is non-fish eye, right? So I thought this is pretty cool. So please check this out, Corona, if you have not done so. All right. Camille says, Robin, will you do a live stream about 50 to 200 next month if it does get announced? We can talk about it, but I can't do anything because I don't have the lens, right? So unless I can get one from the local distributor here, which I do have a good relationship with. We'll see what happens. Yeah, Nan says, thank you, Robin. No worries. We have caught up with the chat. Yay. And I guess that's it for tonight. Thank you for staying with me. Thank you for chatting with me, having this nice conversation. I hope you've enjoyed this live stream. You found it beneficial. I hope you've enjoyed looking at the photographs. If you do, please consider joining as a member. Or you can contribute directly to my PayPal, or you can buy me a coffee using this link. Any support goes a long way. And yeah, if you... please also remember to go out and take more photographs. I will read the last comment from Azhar. Azhar says, I think compared to other micro photo YouTubers, you are the most dedicated and true to the system. It's a bit lost if they don't listen to your ideas. Oh, you're too kind, Azhar. And I don't think they care. They just do whatever they want to do, right? And that's fine. We just hope that they give us some wow products sooner than later. All right, that's it. Yeah, I'll see you guys next week. Bye-bye.